Good evening, Mount Vernon. Uh, My name is Ed Poteet, and I am the acting president today. My council mate and my council president, Daniel Brown, is out, and so is Kathleen Gleason. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know there's a bathroom on this floor and a bathroom that's downstairs. There's two exits to this room, one here and one in the back. And if you have your phones on, please kindly turn them off. Today we have a presentation by the Department of Recreation. Commissioner Pickney, if you could get us started with your presentation.
Good evening, City Council body and clerk and attorney. How y'all doing?
Good, doing well. Doing
Good.
well.
My name is Kathleen Walker Pickney, and I'm the Commissioner of Recreation. With me, who's giving the presentation today is my Deputy Commissioner, Andre Early, and Rick Wright is also here, who's Director of Memorial Field Operations. Thank you. Come on.
Good evening, Acting Council President, members of the City Council, and our City Clerk, as well as our able council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you concerning the stadium at Memorial Field, a name that carries a deep history, community pride, and now the weight of a remarkable comeback story. Today, we stand in the present with a renewed vision. Memorial Field has reopened under the city's jurisdiction and leadership in January of 2023, and with the understanding that the outdoor season is from April 1st through October 31st, we have reintroduced possibility. But it's important that we acknowledge buildings can be restored faster than relationships. Rebuilding trust, reestablishing credibility, and enhancing our reputation in the eyes of residents and partners. These are the currencies of long-term success. As we look toward the future, we are not just chasing quick wins. Instead, we are cultivating relationships, partnerships, building programs, and intentionally pacing our revenue goals based on where we are, not where we wish we could be. We have developed a formal 3, 5, and 10-year strategic plan that reflects this journey. Our ask today is simple: continued support and shared understanding. Profitability and community impact are not destinations we can reach alone. They require collaboration, investment, and time. And above all, they require a collective belief that the stadium at Memorial Field is worth the work. So with that being said, we can advance to the presentation that we have before you. Now, phase one basically was getting the stadium reimagined, built, and opened. We have succeeded with that with our partnership and collaboration with Westchester County. Next slide. You have to forgive me because I cannot see. But basically, what we're dealing with right now is, we have moved forward with the reopening. We are fully open with programs and activities and events that will be taking place throughout the course of the year. Next slide. We already did the context. Next slide. Currently, we are now in phase two. Phase two is the start of a 3-year plan in which pretty much is the Harvard study. Okay, that was presented back in, I believe, 2021. This sounds about right? About 2021. And what we had to do is to ensure that we can eventually make the benchmarks that are outlined in that study. We have to take into consideration that there are different variables that impact how that stadium will operate. For example, I know within the study, they gave different scenarios, low, medium, high. They, for some odd reason, people want to stay fixed on high or medium, but that's a very, I would have to say a low, because the size of the stadium is seats about no more than 4,000. And some of the revenue models took it up to about 800,000. So we noticed that that was one of the goals, I believe, last year, and obviously we did not make that mark. So with some adjustments, we were able to move with this year looking at having a budget of 500,000. And according to our numbers and according to the work that has been performed by our Director of Operations, we are on target to come, if not to that mark, very close to it. At this time, I would like to bring up our Director of Operations, Rick Wright, because we could advance to the next slide. And next one. So I want to get to the spreadsheets. Yes. Okay. So basically, Mr. Wright is just going to go over a few items as it relates to what's going to be taking place throughout the course of the year.
So what you're looking at right here is the calendar as it stands right now for the year of all of the actual activities, paid, community, and so on and so forth. So the top will tell you February, as the deputy mentioned, where we consider ourselves way ahead of the game. Outdoor facilities, basically in the East Coast, from April 1st until October 31st is that time that they really are functioning. But we've happened to have signed a couple of professional groups that have allowed us to sign to start earlier. So we started in February already. We've got income coming in. March is over, and if you could see, we've had maybe around 15 events in there. And so on and so forth. If you scroll up just a little bit, you see the month of April. All days except for 4 days are filled with activities. And in most days, there are 2 types of activities. We're filling the calendar as best as we could. So we have Monroe University, that's their home field now. They play their home football games there. The Westchester Soccer Club plays their home games at our facility. The New York Exiles, women's professional rugby team, plays their home games at our site now. And the New York Exiles, they are the Ultimate Frisbee national championships. They also play at our facility along with Mount Vernon High School. Pelham High School also is booked some days. Just this Friday, we had a TV shoot. Tracy Morgan pilot was shot at the field. And so we're doing a lot of things right now. If you look at us on this scale, and we are booked up until November with activities, and we're still getting calls, and people are still looking to do things. That's what's basically scheduled, but also just a regular piece of information is Memorial Field is open every day, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's there for the community to run and jog. That's a recreation program. That's not a part of the charter. That's a recreation program designed to give the community the opportunity to walk, and it's a health initiative. We do it from 6 in the morning till 10, and then we do it from 5 in the evening till 8. So along with our season being from April to October, there's also, you only have 12 hours of functional time, of daylight time, right, to work with. So within that 12 hours of daylight time, one of our big givebacks as a recreations program, 6 hours of programming is designed to give to the city. 6 hours of a 12-day, Monday through Friday. Now, because we're mandated to raise revenue, we have to find ways of making money, right? So that's where sometimes the public may get moved off. If we have an event on that day, then we have to take the revenue, right, to try to meet our goals. But for the most part, every day our community has access to that park. The skate park is open 7 days a week. It's open 7 days a week. Everybody has access. The tennis courts are going to be open April 15th. We did a good job this year getting ready. So April 15th, October 31st. Anyone that has access, anyone that has permit has access. So we feel like we're meeting the goals of allowing the community access. And we are also balancing, as the deputy is saying, the revenue part. Is that it?
So one of the slides gives you the key metrics and the next steps and how we divided up, how we're going to generate this revenue. According to the Harvard study, within the 3 years, we should have 300,000 by 5 years, 500,000. And then by 10 years, we have 850, probably more than that. Madam Clerk, if you can advance to the last slide. Oh, that's it right there. Okay, so that's okay. For 2025, the adopted number for the budget was 500,000. According to what we have planned for this year, all the revenue, activities, and events, we are scheduled to make about $406,500, which I am confident it will actually increase since we do have a few days that are still available. Any questions?
Sir, Acting President.
Councilmember Thompson.
Hi, if I may chime in on behalf of Recreation, as the chair, I know that, we are only functional certain times of the year due to weather, and we're not fully enclosed on the field. So I thank, Commissioner Pickney, as well as Rick Wright and everyone in Recreation for doing a diligent job on seeking those funds to come in, throughout the year. It's an awesome thing, but I want the city to prepare themselves because we're an open field over the years. So I would give or take, I'm not an architect or anything like that, but I give or take within 10 years, the seating where you see the MV, that's plastic seating. And because we have sunlight and in the winter months, we have the rain and snow, we will have to look to replace some of that stuff over the years because it's an open field. So I asked the county before, so I'm gonna tap on their shoulder again to see what kind of funds we can get to enclose the field because it will be more beneficial to the city if we have some enclosure there. Also, the residents have to understand that the field of yesterday is not the field of today, right? Our old field was a fully dirt field where you can run in there and we had the steps actually cascaded down to the field, which were concrete, and you can go from the field onto the steps and run up and down the steps. However, we now have a state-of-the-art field, so the things you used to do in the field, you can't do anymore because you have to protect our field and also protect its warranty. So things that you used to do riding bikes and running with, different types of shoes and things of that nature are no longer allowed. So just bear with us and work with us, to continue to help us make this field a great thing for our city. That's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Boxell, any comments?
Thank you. Awesome presentation. Always, needless to say, you guys do a great job with recreation, in the field and all the other events that you guys put together. I just wanted to know how, the tennis, permit, how does that work? Is it open to everyone? How does that, if I want to play tennis there, how would I be able to do that? And what's the cost, if any?
The tennis program is permit by permit. So we have, so I'll bring it up real quickly. We have to review that charter because we're using the same fees that we've used maybe for 60 years is in the charter. And we found we're using that. So whatever those numbers are, we have an adult permit price. We have a junior, which is for youth under 18 permit price, and we have a senior permit price, and we have a family permit price. And all of them are relatively cheap, $35, $50, something like that. I don't know all of it, but
And that's like for the season or?
that's for the entire season,
Okay.
April 1st through October 31st.
And so, and then once I have a permit, then, is there like a schedule or?
Once you have a permit, we have a site called Community Pass. Once you have a permit, you can go on that site and see what courts and times are available. You
Okay.
then can go on, reserve that court, and that court will be reserved for you when you get to the field.
Okay.
Or get
so-
to the
all right.
courts.
Sounds really modern. Thank you. I had no idea. So that's great information.
We
Thank you.
also do tennis clinics and tennis lessons.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's true.
Any other questions, Councilman? Commissioner Pickney and staff, that I want to thank you for coming here. I've now been on council, this is my 4th year, and recreation has been running much better than when I started, when you weren't here. So obviously, it's been your presence that has made recreation run better, and your staff, so thank you. There's a few questions that I have around the business plan of the field. And I'll tell you the gist of where my questions are coming from. We've recently formed an economic development task force here in the city to really try to understand where our revenue is coming from and how we should be aiming in the future. Something that we found out recently is compared to our neighbor cities, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and White Plains, the percentage of revenue that we collect for city services is substantially less than those cities. So we actually rely on property taxes a lot more than New Rochelle or White Plains or Yonkers. What they're doing is collecting a lot more money for city services than we are here in Mount Vernon. So all of my questions isn't about the effort that you're putting in. Clearly with the schedule, it's a lot of energy to make that schedule happen. It's all about the revenue. Because as we sit in these seats every October or November, residents are sitting there saying, why in the world are you going up on our property taxes? And the short answer is because council hasn't done the job of getting revenue from other assets in the city. And one of those assets that we have is Memorial Field. So it's good that we understand the revenue for 2025. I would love to know what the expenses are. And are we breaking even? Are we making money, or are we losing money? Because one quick decision we have to make, or at least let the public know, is the field revenue generating, or is it a public good where taxpayers are going to be paying for the field, but because of all the great other things happening, that's okay, and that's a decision we've made. But without that data, we can't even make that decision. So do we know what the expenses are to run the field?
I have requested that information and we are working on processing all of that. There has to be an adjustment as it relates to the budget. And as soon as we get some further information, that has been requested. For example, gas bills and things of that nature. As soon as we receive that, we can do a true analysis to see where we truly stand. But there will definitely be some adjustments.
Okay, thank you. And food and beverage, when you get that data, can you break out food and beverage revenue compared to just rental revenue? So let me then say it differently. The concession stands now, are we generating revenue from those stands? And if so, what is that number compared to the 406 of the
Well-
overall revenue?
As Director Wright comes to, let me say this. The short answer is yes.
Okay.
However, we're not collecting as much as we could because of the proper infrastructure not in place at this current moment. So as soon as we have our point of sale infrastructure in place, then we'll be able to actually process more financial transactions and be a little bit more flexible. Because right now, all they can do is Cash App or whatever. So
So.
Commissioner Pickey, you might go into the microphone so that the public can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
the other thing is we have a dry concession. So when people think it's like a concession, because someone mentioned, oh, why did you rent it? It's a dry concession. It's not prepared to even like to rent it to somebody or do a full concession where you have all the food. We do the minimum that we can do according to that space, because like the sink is this small, it's not too much you can do until we get that upgraded. So that is in the plan when we get money to upgrade it into a real concession, but technically it's a dry concession.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, question, revenue. We right now run the concession in a way that actually we are not fully making profit. Okay? As Deputy's saying, we're in phases of running this stadium. So the very first thing is to establish the foundation of the stadium and what its purpose is and what its main revenue is coming from. Revenue versus profit. We have revenue, all right, but are we making profit? That comes into what you're asking about in terms of expenses. The real question is that I think the council and everybody has to answer. Is the stadium profitable? Okay. Is the stadium profitable? Can the stadium get revenue 100%? And that's what we're looking at, and that's what we're working towards. And there's some profit, there's some ways in the future for us to get to that point where we can get some money. But basically how these municipal stadiums have been running, they've been running in part through city funding and then foundational funding, monies that's coming from foundations, right? So in the Harvard study, you'll notice that they go to all of the stadiums around us, and no municipal stadium in the tri-state area is making a profit. None. None. Because the first part and the first duty is it performs a service. So it's being paid for by the tax, right? And so it's up to us to give value out of that so the taxpayers can feel the value of what they're putting in, right? That's where we are right now. Once we maximize the amount of profit that we can make at the stadium from one entity, it moves us into the next phase. So last year was so let's be very clear, this is our second, we've only run this facility 2 years. So last year was our second year. We're moving into our third year. Right now, the month of April is 30 days. We have 25 days full, and based on the books, it's $87,000 that we're making in the month of April, right? I don't know if that's profit yet. right? It's revenue, but we don't know if it's profit, right? And we can't make any more based on the way the charter is. So this is where I'm challenging the body. Let's review those prices. Because I can't make no more out of it. Can't charge any. Right? So we're not running a business. We're not independent of government. If we were independent of government, we could do a lot different. But because we're involved in the government, we just have to stay at the pace. So the pace that I'm at right now is to load our facility with events, valuable events that make it valuable to sell possibly food and beverage. Then you know what food and beverages can get. Right now, we're holding it up. And what I like to say, like some of the signs that we have, they're placeholders. Because the placeholder is to say, hey, that could be you, right? But first I have to have that vision. So the kitchen and that, it's a very remedial kitchen, as Commissioner said. They gave us what's called a dry concession. It's one sink this big, right? And we're really only capable of making around $400 or $500 out of there if the place is packed, right? And we have people working. Those are the facts, right? But it's valuable to us because it shows people that there's something there that they may see. So the next phase is possibly we figure out how much food and beverage is worth and then put it out to see who's willing to pay that, right? Unless we're willing to take the money and invest in that facility, meaning that concession, and bring it to a level where it can make profit. We have to do that as a group, though. I don't know if we have that. So your question, profit from the concession, right now, concession is a sidebar
Got it.
for me and how we're functioning.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so what we'll have to do, because right now the field is outsourcing for concessions, like they have food trucks and everything coming. So until we, like Rick Wright said, until we get the funding to upgrade our concession stand where we can have grills, where we can have deep fryers and things of that nature, that would be totally run through the city opposed to being outsourced, then we'll start seeing some revenue generating that will be profitable. But until we upgrade our systems on our part, we won't see any profitable aspects on that area.
And if I may,
Sure.
apologize. When we decide to get to the point that you're at, and we need to decide to hire somebody to do that. Right now, Rick Wright does it, along with all the other little
Got it.
things. So I'm just.
Understood, completely understood. There's two other questions that I have. One is corporate sponsorships and advertising from the bulletin board. Do we know, yeah, Director Wright, you could just stay
Last year, we did about, I'm saying around $35,000 in advertising at Memorial Field. We had 3 sponsors for the board, and we have about 4 banners, corporate banners. So the banners, depending on the size, cost about $2,500 to $4,500 for the year, and the billboard on the street side costs $250 a week. With a minimum, you must do a 4-week minimum. All right. Look, we need more people, we need more money, because I'm selling that too. Okay. So, I mean, I'm good with it, but that's a business. That's its own business, selling advertising. We are doing it while the recreation department is doing a basketball tournament and a football tournament and a food giveaway, and all of that is where we're tied into. So we're doing the best we can with it. Whenever we get that space, and I'm going to get the space, to be honest, as these things lock in, it releases me to do other things. But right now, we got to get that $400,000 and $500,000 off the field. So I've got to get people on the field and then move on. But in the middle, I'm still wiggling and talking to people and seeing, hey, what about you? Putting pressure on some of the vendors that come in to advertise.
One of the decisions we made when the field was open, and I believe Councilmember Thompson was here, and so was I, was to have it be under the Department of Recreation and not set up a separate sports authority or to outsource it to a private entity to say, okay, pay us a license fee and then go forth and run the field. It kind of gets back to the point that you're saying, which is you're doing a lot. And I get it, right? There's 8 hours during the day, there's 5 days during the week. And so one of the decisions that we
You
should
said
make.
5 days?
5 days, 5 days in the week, 5 work days, 6,
I
7.
work Saturday, I work Sunday, yeah.
So something we should figure out is, does it make sense to have this be run outside of recreation? And that comes back down to numbers. If we could generate even more profit by having a third party run it, then why not do it?
Because you ain't gonna generate more money,
Excuse me?
because you're not gonna generate more money. The facts of the matter is the third party wants money. They don't come free. So if you guys remember, prior to us taking charge of the facility, I personally was given the charge of vetting different management companies and possibly coming in. And that's fine. They can do what they do, but none of them came in with less than $600,000 as a retainer to start, plus a percentage of whatever they made. So look, the most efficient way to run this stadium is the way we're running it. I'm going to say that, efficient. Is it the best, most profitable way? Different. Right? Different. We, the recreation department, and we ain't complaining, excuse my French, right? If you stop and take a look, and remember, you guys, when you said Rick Wright can be the director of operations for the stadium, you also said Rick Wright, but you're going to make sure you take care of programming, right? You're going to make sure that we still have our summer camps, right? So for the dollar efficiency, we moved our programming completely to Memorial Field. And technically, if you look at the Harvard study, included in the Harvard study is programming, right? So the numbers that we're using, if you balance them out with the amount of employees that's doing both of those things, we're being efficient the best we can and following a plan. So the only thing I want to say is this. I want you to trust the process. It's not Rick Rice, it's not Commissioner Pinkman, it's not DC Early. It's a Harvard study. I was a part of it, but they put the input in, they did the research, they made a presentation, and they made a suggestion, and we're following it. And so far, we're on track for it. There's some hiccups in it, right? You know, the Harvard study had a building in it. The building's not there, right? So we just got to be patient. I think we're on track. Personally, I think we're on track to being able to get to where we want to go. We just have to, I think the community and everyone just be a little patient, see where we are in year 3 of a brand new facility. So.
And Director Wright, I'm not trying to beat you up. Trust me, I'm not.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
proud of the work. No, no, no,
I'm
no,
teasing,
no.
I'm teasing, I'm teasing.
I am proud, and we are proud of the work that you're doing there. Our taxpayers are impatient. And they literally come in every year in the fall and say, all right, we see what you did last year and the year before, but are you gonna have another tax increase this year? And how dare you do that? So because of their impatience, then that means council needs,
You're
we have
100% right.
That's
This is fair. I mean, it's fair to ask and it's fair to have the dialogue. I have no issues with it personally.
And then one other question, and you mentioned this before in your talk, you're locked in by the fees that we had discussed, I guess, a year and a half ago or 2 years, right?
Well,
And so then you're charging what you can and the calendar is filled, but you aren't able to charge more because those fees were set
Yeah, yeah.
a few
I
years
mean,
ago.
a long time ago, yeah.
Are you talking about the rental fees?
The rental fees, right. Out of that $406,000, there's a schedule of different people using the field and you're charging them X.
Right.
And that's where the revenue's coming from because that they're paying X fee to the city.
And just for the record, with
Please.
the, even with the rental fees, so we did the comparison with Icon Stadium, which is actually 1,000 seats more than us in a more up-to-date stadium. So our price is, some people could say could have been lower, you understand? But that was the most comparable one that we can compare to was the Icon Stadium. And so we're charging what they charge. And like I said, and we're smaller and we're not as up-to-date as Icon Stadium,
And where is the stadium, if I could?
Randall's Island. Yeah, but when we first came, that was what we did when we asked the city council in regards to the prices. And that's the best one we could compare with, and they're 1,000 seats more than us.
Got it. What I'm curious about, and here's my last question. If the schedule is full, based on your work, or close to full, we have 87 events between April and November.
Yeah, so let me just give you,
Please.
real quickly. When you project on the season, you take your biggest days, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
Mhm.
right? If you look from April all the way till October, there's about 95 of those days,
Mhm.
right? And then the other days are days you're trying to make money. So we're right there. What I was referring to is that our charter, right, has to kind of be, we need to sit back down and look at that and come up with real numbers that make sense in today's market to charge for Memorial Field, right? The numbers that we're using, as Commissioner said, are comparable to the places around us, but it's also leans toward our charter,
Sure.
right? And so we need to kind of review that. Right now, we just have to be fair. The field, we can't charge much more. This is a high school field that we have. Okay, just to be very clear, it is not a professional college facility. We have been able to convince people, and I'm talking about the vendors, that it is. But when you only put 40 lockers in each locker room, you designate the size of your stadium. It says that only 40 people on each team. Every high school team carries 50. Professional teams are coming in, the colleges are coming in with 150. We have to use the corridors. We're figuring things out and making it something. But if we just do what we are, high school, you ain't making no money. We can't afford it. So we've got to, as Councilman Thompson said, think about how we upgrade. If we don't upgrade, we're never gonna, it's like, can't make money if you don't put money in it,
Sure.
all right? And so we've got to figure out what makes this stadium valuable, right? Every stadium, every high school in Westchester, why aren't high schools coming to us to play? Because their stadium's already just as good as ours. They have turf in Bronxville, White Plains, they got screens everywhere. So we really don't have much except history and proximity to New York City. And that's what we really are selling, right? But the facility itself is very limited. As you said, April to October, we got no place to warm up. No place for, yes, I'm sorry. I
And
ran
if
out
I
of-
may, Sir Acting President, we also have, other spaces within the field that we can capitalize on. Because like hot pockets, as I would call them, like over by the tennis courts and over by where the skating area is. There are spaces that we can capitalize. It's gonna cost money, but there are spaces that we can capitalize on to make our field, because it's already a state-of-the-art field, but we have to make our field like no other field where people want to utilize just our field. So, to Rick's point, we just gotta, spend a little bit to make a little bit.
Thank you, Councilmember Thompson. And to that point, a comment and question that I have, and then I'll wrap up. What would happen to our revenue? And I hear what you're saying fully, that our field is not that special compared to other fields. What would happen if we went 2x on the fees?
If we did what?
If we did 2x on the fees, so let's say Monroe College, we're charging them whatever we're charging.
Oh,
What
you
if
said what would
next
happen if we
year,
went
If we
2x on the
doubled the
fee?
fees?
They
Yeah.
leave, they go where they at. Listen, I'm gonna give you, if you look at the Harvard study,
Please.
right? And you look at the comparable costs of what New Rochelle charges for their municipal fields,
Mhm.
we're like 10 times more than them, okay? But we were able to convince the exiles that our facility was a better facility than Joe Fascina facility, okay? They played there for years. For the last 2 years, they've been coming to me, hey, Rick, here's the price. I'm sorry, this is what it costs. This year, they saw how we've lifted up the facility. They've seen Westchester, they've seen the soccer groups. Now they're here and they're paying the fee. See, unfortunately, sometimes you gotta say no to get the price that you need. You just can't say yes. So right now, we're where we need to be because we kind of held out and tell everybody, we're special. Okay, you can go to the show. They have turf. But what you get when you come to Mount Vernon is a whole different vibe, a whole different feeling. And that's what they're paying for. And that's what we're doing and trying to, brand it. We're on TV. Okay, talk about marketing. We've been on MSG, Fox TV, CBS Sports, each one of the franchises. This last rugby game was televised internationally. It was the first North American professional women's rugby game ever played. That's here in Memorial Field. That, you'd pay an extra $1,000 for that.
Got it. Thank you. And so let's talk about next steps. We had mentioned, I'm sorry, Commissioner Pickney, was there a?
Yeah, and I also want to say, I have looked in, Rick has looked into different companies to do licensing. And to, so I was like, speaking to somebody, Rick has like, okay, you can license the skateboard, right? It could be Gatorade, and then the tennis court could be Red Bull. It don't even have to be one. So one of the things with the people that I have had conversations with, and even Rick, one of the problems that happened is that, well, you wasn't established. So now you're able to show, it's easy to say, oh, get somebody to like, no. Now you're able to show with the schedule, all the wonderful events that have been taken there back to back to back. And yes, the community is going to probably come back, not just for the taxes, because the more events we put in, the less walking it is. Remember, it's we're in that kind of phase right now when we're trying to fill up all the dates, and the dates are filling. And the Pelham and this one complains, but we have to do what we need to do. But now that we're able to actually make a deck, make us look like we've been doing what we've been doing by having all these things scheduled, it's going to make it better. And just for the record, it's nothing like, and I know we have talked about outside contractors, but it is nothing like having a homegrown person that is dedicated, knows the field, understands the turf. It's nothing like nobody protecting that like Rick, or whoever it's gonna be that's from home, because when that turf rips or something happens, it costs a lot of money. It could cost $1 million because it's not something that you just go fix. It's something that you can't just take a square and put it back. You have to redo the field. So it's good and have confidence in the guy that's running it. And I'm not saying the city council doesn't, but I'm just saying it's nothing like that than to have an outside vendor come in. It's just not going to be the same, and it costs too much money.
Gotcha. So if we can talk about next steps, I'll go first and turn it over to Councilmember Thompson and Boxell if there's other questions that you have, or other follow-up questions that you have. We had mentioned getting expense data. That'd be helpful so we could figure out of the 406 how much of that is profit and what's just revenue. From my vantage point too, we talked a lot about upgrades, if you could give us a list of possible upgrades. So that we could see if we put in $1 here, and if that comes back in 3 years, and everything else past that is just upside, maybe it does make sense to allocate dollars for that upgrade if in 3 or 4 years that there's a payback and nothing but revenue from, going forward. So if you could give us a list of possible upgrades and what those dollar amounts are, and also revenue associated with those upgrades, that would be helpful. Councilmember Thompson, were there any other next steps or?
Next step for me was I'll be working along with the commissioner, deputy commissioner and director, to look at what our prices are, our fees, to utilize the field, and I'll be working along with our legislative aide, Ms. Anderson, to, see if we're even competitive with other municipalities. Because I know we will have to make some amendments, because, as Director Wright said, those fees have been there 50 years plus and they haven't increased. So we definitely need to make some increases. I know they will be uncomfortable for people, but I mean, this is, you have to pay for things that you want. So those fees will be necessary, and I'll be looking into that as part of our next steps, and I'll have our legislative aide help me to see how we can come about that. And also I want to commend you all. Thank you so much for your layout, because I said this was, it's a great layout, and the explanation is just, on point, letting us know when public safety is needed, how often public safety is needed. This is just spot on, for anyone who has questions. It definitely it's an eye opener. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Box, on any next steps or follow-ups?
I was just kind of, I know you said you were talking about the other fees, but I was specifically interested in the advertising fees. How those numbers are, how do we come up with those numbers, and how do we even market it? And who are the type of folks that are interested in putting stuff up on our billboards?
So, again, when we took over the stadium, it was new for us to have this board. So what we did is we did our research with Outpoint, Clear Channel, and looked at their ratings on billboards, right? And so we just fit right into their area. Billboards, advertising have what you call A, B, and C locations, right? So the location that we are is a C location, and that's a C price. So anywhere you go, if you look for a billboard, a digital billboard, you'll see that $250 is the average price for a C advertising billboard, digital billboard. And so we followed that. And then we followed the pattern of doing it weekly as opposed by monthly. And that was because we realized some months are longer. So you got an extra $500 if you do it by weeks, right? And but everything is just research and following how the industry works. So that's what we've been doing, is just following it. And we only have one board. So the other thing is, if we had, let's say, 10 boards, if you bought 5 of them, that would decrease the price. But we only have one board, so there's nowhere for us to go.
Thank you. That's a perfect explanation. Thank you.
Director Wright, DC Early, Commissioner Pickney, thank you so much for the presentation. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into our tally sheet. We have 2 missing council members, so I'm gonna ask Councilmember Thompson if you would be
Absolutely.
so nice to read LPW and Human Resources, and Councilmember Boxell, if you could read Public Safety and Codes and Finance and Planning.
Thank you. Item number 1 is from the City Clerk's Office, Charter Review Commission, an ordinance authorizing the extension of the contract with the National Civic League for professional services to assist the 2024 Mount Vernon Charter Review Commission. That's on the agenda. Item number 2 is from the Mayor's Office, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to attend the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative 2025 Annual Conference in Milwaukee, Wisconsin from May 14th to the 16th, 2025. That's on the agenda. Item number 3 from the mayor's office, an ordinance authorizing the installation of a total wellness sensory room in City Hall's first floor employee women's bathroom. That's on the agenda. Item number 4 from Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept a $126,920 technical assistance voucher from the U.S. Department of Energy's DOE Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant. That's on the agenda. Item number 5, Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the city of Mount Vernon to host the 2025 Arbor Day celebration in partnership with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Inc. That's on the agenda. Item number 6, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing a budget line transfer within the Department of Public Works for education and training related to municipal separate storm systems. That's on the agenda. Item number 7, Public Works, an ordinance authorizing internal training of qualified staff for stormwater and sewer state mandates and federal consent decree actions. That's on the agenda. Item number 8, Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the attendance of Department of Public Works Deputy Commissioner John, I always mess his name up, John N. I'll say, and laborer Jawad Abdul Halim, and the basic code enforcement training course. That's on the agenda. Item number 9 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the City of Mount Vernon Recreation and the police departments to co-sponsor Rolling in Peace in Hartley Park on Saturday, June 14th, 2025. That's on the agenda. Item number 10 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the City of Mount Vernon through the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor the Cinco de Mayo celebration with Westchester Latino Unidos from May 5th, 2025 from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's at Hartley Park as well. With the rain date site designated at the Dole Center, 250 South 6th Avenue. That's on the agenda. Item number 11 from the Water Department, an ordinance retroactively authorizing attendance at the 2025 Mayor's Water Council meeting. That's on the agenda. And there's also one add-on, item number 17, from the City Clerk's Office, a resolution designating Megan Blaze as a marriage clerk for the City of Mount Vernon, New York. And that's on the agenda. That's all I have for LPW.
Thank you, Councilmember Thompson. Are there any questions for LPW? Going once, going twice. All right, Councilmember, could you read Human Resources?
Absolutely. From Human Resources, item number 12 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept funding from New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, EFC, for the South 4th Street Park Green Infrastructure, and that's on the agenda. Item number 13 from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Flying Classroom for Mount Vernon Youth Bureau Solar Go-Kart Summer Academy, which is from July 8th, 2025 through August 14th, 2025 for $45,000. That's on the agenda. From the Youth Bureau, item number 14, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Krishna Shah, CEO of Wellness with Krishna, to provide mental wellness sessions for the Ready for Life program, which is from April 18th, 2025 through July 11th, 2025 at the cost of $10,000. And that's on the agenda.
Any questions for Human Resources? Councilmember, there's.
No
one-
cost to the city. Is that your
Oh,
question?
It sure is.
Yeah, I'm a mind reader,
There you go.
side job.
There you go. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Yes.
Councilmember. All right, Councilman Thompson, Councilman Boxell, Public Safety and Codes.
All right, Public Safety and Codes, Department of Public Safety and Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Westchester County Department of Correction for reimbursement for prisoner transportation services for the year 2023 and 2024. And this is back on the agenda because we didn't have enough votes last time. So it's on the agenda. And that's all I have for Public Safety and Codes.
Thank you. Any questions for Public Safety and Codes? For the second vote for item number 15? None heard. Finance and Planning, Councilmember Boxell.
All right, this is from the Assessors Office number 16, an ordinance authorizing transfer of funds within the Department of Assessment, budget lines for the purpose of, assessors remapping. And I believe this was, 15,000. And that's on the agenda. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Finance and Planning? Going once, going twice. All right. So we are at the end of our tally sheet. Any last words that the council members would like to say to the public before we wrap up? Councilmember Boxell or Councilmember Thompson?
I do know we have a couple of events coming up this month. I'll have them for everyone on Wednesday. But I do know we have the PTA thing at Green Tree, and there's a couple of other events. I just want to make sure that the community is aware of those events. So I'll have that information for everybody on Wednesday. Oh, yeah, there's an Easter egg hunt on the 12th as well, so we want to make sure in Hartley Park, so we want to make sure that everyone has all those events so they can get out there with their families.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. My daughter was just asking me about the Easter egg. She loved it last year, so.
Councilmember Boxell, any last words?
Special happy birthday to my mother. Her birthday is tomorrow. So,
Happy birthday.
yep.
Happy birthday. As we wrap up, there was something that we did on council a few years back where we did PSAs with communication. And we would talk about the schedule for the month or for the week. I think for the month, that we may want to bring that back because I thought it was helpful. And we would take turns. So, you know, you would have the month of April, I would have May, you'd have June. And we would literally do a PSA for a minute or two, put it on the website, but then someone could look on the website and hear Councilmember Thompson talk about what's happening for the month of April. So just as a note, Antoinette, if you could talk to communications, and let's see if we could bring that back, because I thought that was really helpful for the community. With that being said, if there's no further words, happy birthday to Ms. Boxell.